What's up, y'all? It's your girl Ehmandah, and welcome to another episode of the Dope Confidence Podcast, where I talk to amazing, dope individuals that have carved their own path and gone after their dreams, gone after their goals. And these are men and women that I have found to be amazing, and you'll find them to be amazing too. So I want to bring on my guest for today. Her name is Geeta Sidhu-Robb. She is a CEO and she is a coach. She is making space. It is her mission to make a safe space for women to thrive. Thrive in every area of your life, thrive corporately, thrive as an entrepreneur. So I cannot wait to have this conversation with her. She is going to enlighten you and she is going to empower you as a woman to thrive today in this world. So y'all, I welcome Geeta. Let me see if I can bring her in the room with us. How are you?
Hi, I'm really well. Thank you so much for having me, Amanda.
Thank you so much. And she is in London. So I just feel honored and blessed to be speaking to someone on the other side of this world that is willing to share their story with us. So Geeta, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So in very short, I'm an Indian who grew up in Africa, in Malawi. So I'm African, second generation. My mother was born in Kenya. So we've been colonized a heck of a lot, really, to be fair. And I came out here to the UK when I was 15 to go to school because that's kind of the pathway we followed.
Okay.
And I became a lawyer and then I became an entrepreneur. And then I'm a single parent. I've been a single parent almost all my adult life. I had my first baby when in my 20s. And now they're really old and we lie about their age, not mine, because, that's how bad it's getting. And I run businesses. I love to run businesses. I love to make women feel strong and powerful. And then I give about 15-20% of my time to charity in terms of time and money. And I chair two global charities. One is Montessori Global and one is Microloan Foundation. And then also the Duchess of York's trust. I'm on her charity. And so that's my not paid stuff. And then that's my paid stuff.
So tell me why, and we're going to talk about, how you grew up and everything. But tell me why you are so passionate about helping women thrive.
Because I, like many, many women in the world, I was brought up not like many, this part, no. I grew up in a very wealthy upper class family and, education was everything. And then go off but you're learning the weaving throughout your whole life is be a good girl, right? So this is almost every girl in the world. Be a good girl, be good, be too much. Don't talk too much. Don't do too much. Do you have to be so loud? Just be good, darling. It'll all be fine. Just be good. And I was like, I'm really going to try. This shit is not for me, but I will try.
I love you already.
I really tried, honestly. And then this stuff would happen. And, if you're good, bad stuff isn't supposed to happen. Or if it's going to happen, there should be some kind of parachute system, right? When you follow the rules. And I found that when stuff went very badly wrong for me, I left my last husband. I walked out of the marriage because he was abusive and a drunk. And we had built a huge business together. And I was like, send me my half. He emptied every bank account. And there I was with 3 kids under the age of 7. And we ended up homeless. And my mother wouldn't take me in.
Wow.
Because she was like, go back to your husband. That's your job. And, and I sat there and I remember very clearly, Amanda. And you have to imagine, I was barely 30. And I'm standing there. I built this amazing business. By any metric, I'm highly successful. And I'm holding my 1-year-old and the nappy under her bum, big bag of nappies. And I'm holding, then the baby, the next baby up is 2.5 and she's holding my hand and my son is holding her.
Wow.
And I'm standing on the street and my mother's like, no, go back. And I'm like, seriously? We're literally not safe. And so imagine how bad it's been for us to get here and the courage it takes to walk out. And God bless, well, God and my friend who came and gave us, and when you go from being a multimillionaire to nothing in
Mm.
one easy step, it's not like people love you more. They love you a damn lot less. You suddenly become very smelly.
Wow.
And when I stayed, a girlfriend of mine gave me somewhere to stay for 6 months. We slept on her floor and had to rebuild everything. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to be good again,
Mm.
ever. I don't know what that means,
Yeah.
but I'm never going to be good again. So I set fire and burnt that version of me. Sorry, that was a very long answer. But yeah, that's why.
And listen, every guest that I speak with, some part of their story resonates with me from my own personal experience. And you coming from a wealthy family and then building this amazing business with your husband and three kids, and then ending with nothing at all and sleeping on the floor at someone's home for 6 months. What were you experiencing, from a self-worth and an identity perspective?
The thing is, I was very lucky because I think that bloody mindedness plays a huge part in this. I
Mm.
think having the upbringing that I had, the only thing I was focused on, to be very honest with you, was that my kids were absolutely earned the same lifestyle I had grown up with.
Mm.
And I feel like if I hadn't had kids, I would have maybe accepted a lot less. But
Okay.
I was not willing. I had taken my children away from this massive 8 bedroom, 8 bathroom, 25-foot swimming pool house and my private plane and my home in Monaco and everything. And I'd taken them away from there to sleep on a bed and a floor. And I was like, the one thing I will not do now is take you out of your own school.
Mm.
So I probably would have taken them out of school because it was so expensive. School here is very expensive, um, private school. But my ex, I remember, came to me and said, I was struggling to work out how to have them stay in school. And then it was a very white school and I wasn't white. So that was a real issue because they were like, could you just disappear? And I wouldn't disappear, weirdly.
Wow.
And I remember him saying, if you just come back, I can make this all better.
Hmm.
And I bless him for that. Because if he had not pissed me off so completely, I might have, it was so bad. We lived on £14 a day. It was so bad that I feel like I might have, you never know, I might have gone back.
Yes.
So, so for me, the focus was, I didn't care what my worth was. I didn't care nothing. My prayer daily was, let this never happen to me again.
Mm.
Whatever I have, whatever I do. And the thing with being female and poor, the real core choices, and especially from my upbringing, was to get married to somebody wealthy again,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not that I've married wealthy the first time, but there was definitely options in my social group. The ones that were talking to me were the men, weirdly. And as women, you can you can go off and sell your body or marry, which is another version of sale. And I always talk about this because we don't talk about this enough.
We
And when
don't.
you're poor, the desire to fix it, no matter what, is so high because you're
Mm.
responsible for the babies, you're responsible for food, you're responsible for everything. And men come out of the woodwork because they sense your need. And
Mm.
it took a lot of courage to go, no, I'm not doing that. But that was good. Once I put that flag in the ground and I was like, well, we're not selling my body.
Yes.
What do we have left? I had to sell my body. I was like, all right, I'll sell all that shit instead. On some level, it was easier.
Oh my gosh. What a journey you experienced. So after staying at your friend's home for 6 months, um, how did you start over again? What level of self-belief and self-confidence did it take for you to start over again?
I really hate injustice and I hate bullying.
Mm.
Hate, hate. And I
Yeah.
think that's run me my whole life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I was like, this is not fair. This is just not fair. So I took the bugger to court for 5 years, 6 years. But like how you guys have a problem. What's that crime called? Black driving a car. We have
Mm.
brown female in court. We have that equivalent. So you just don't
Mm.
succeed in court at all. And so I had to get, after about 5 years, I was like, okay, I'm either going to fight this man or in an ever moving target, or I'm just going to go off and do something. And I don't know, I discovered things like Abraham Hicks. I discovered spirituality. I was always religious,
Mm-hmm.
but I discovered this. And so I used to have a little book. I still have one today, right here. And I had a tiny book and I couldn't sleep, right? Because there was so much, I just didn't sleep for so long. Because I used to walk around and around till, half the night. And so I took to writing, I would take a page and draw a T line. And on the left-hand side, I would write, here's what I have to do tomorrow. And then on the right hand side, I was like, here's what the universe has to do for me tomorrow.
Mm.
And then I hustled. I was like, people would come and go, Geeta, can you? And I'm like, yes, how much? I was like, I was very clear. I'm like, I will not sleep with you. I will not prostitute myself and I will not marry you. Outside of that, babe, I'm yours. What do you need to do? Oh
Uh-huh.
my God. Some of the shit that I said yes to, people would come up and go, can you? Yes. And then I'd be like, what does that mean?
Right. What did I
I would
say?
Let me tell you, like it was like a movie. I would have open a laptop, or like an iPad or a
Uh-huh.
laptop, and I'd be talking to them, and they'd be like, "Could you do this?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And I'm googling, what the fudge does this mean? I had no idea what it meant. I would just, they were like, "Can you go to Rwanda?" Which
Uh-huh.
is a country in Central Africa, and they're like, "Could you go and Google? Could you go and negotiate telecom spectrum?" I'm like, "Absolutely." I'm googling spectrum. I'm googling where is Rwanda. I'm googling who is flight to Rwanda. And I was, and then I would think of a number and multiply it by three and then double it, and I'd ask for that number,
Uh-huh.
and and then I'd get, a number, and then I would go. It was just hysterical. I mean, I look back now and I'm like, wow, really, wow. Yeah, that's kind of how it went.
But you did what you had to do to take care of
Oh,
yourself
and
and
then,
your kids. So then when did you find an opportunity for you to say yes to your new aspirations and your new goals as an entrepreneur, as a CEO? When did that start to unfold for you?
only, God, 10 years or 6, 7 years into the process. It took a
Really?
long time. Well, because survivalists take so much energy.
Mhm.
We don't understand. One of the joys of my life has been that, unlike majority of people, I've been extremely poor and extremely rich. And the thing
Mm.
that I learned out of that is that poverty is exhausting. Poverty is exhausting. We come up with some really damn fool ideas on how we're going to cure poverty. People who only got the chance, they would go, they're tired. Being poor
Mm.
is tiring. Trying to work out how you're going to eat every day is tiring. Not being able
Mm.
to afford shoes for your children or choosing which child has shoes is exhausting. These things are tiring. And it just took a really long time. And I would have people say, surely you should be out of this by now. And I was thinking, surely I could shoot you too, but we're not going to do that. We'll just stay here. And I would say those things in my
Wow.
brain. But,
Of course.
again, we don't actually shoot people. That's just a figure of speech.
Right, right.
Um, where I come from. So I just, I don't know. You put one foot, another foot, and I look back, and it was 2 years, then it was 4 years, and
Wow.
I wouldn't let myself date because I was terrified. I was terrified that if some
Mm.
man came in and looked after me, I would say, "Thank you, God. Please look after all of it." And I
Mm.
never wanted to fall back into that. So there was no joy. It was just grind,
Wow.
you know? And it was years and years of this. And ironically, a couple of the newspapers, I had been a public figure before this happened. So a lot of this was picked up by the press, which is always so much fun. And then this process, there was more press about what I was trying to get back on my feet and things like that. And if it paid the school fees, I would let them do it. And if it
Mm-hmm.
didn't pay the school fees, I was like, we're not doing this until you pay the school fees. So that was kind of how that went. I, yeah, I would love to say it was really clever, but it wasn't. It was
Mm.
survival, and it's very, very, very basic. So it took a
Yeah.
long. I stopped eventually. I eventually decided to set up a business and become an entrepreneur, not because I knew what it was, because I did not, but because I thought I have to stop flying places. Because my first child, had extreme food allergies and he was anaphylactic. So
Mm-hmm.
every time I would fly somewhere and I'd be standing in the middle of Dubai or Saudi Arabia and someone's ringing me going, I've got to take the baby to the hospital and it's my baby.
Wow.
And I've either got to make the money to pay for it, or I've got to be. There were no good choices, none.
Mm-mm.
So I
Mm-mm.
don't know if I'm being clear enough how incredibly painful that was as a process. But you just kind of had no choice, right?
Right.
So that's when I was like, okay, I must stop leaving the country. How do I make money just sitting here? And that was when I was like, the only thing I know how to do is make people healthy and strong and their
Mm.
bodies work. Because that's what I did for my son. Because they were like, it's incurable. I'm like, nothing's incurable. Let's try to work this out. Because of course I didn't know any better. But we did cure him.
Wow.
And that's how I set up a business. But we didn't have any money. So that was really funny. So I ended up, we had no money. I didn't know how to set up a business. So they were like, so I remember finding a letter where the bank had offered me a £2,000 overdraft like a year or 2 years, in good days when I was rich. So I went in to see this man, and God bless him because he was black. And
Mm-hmm.
I sat with him and I was like, can I have this overdraft? I'm going to set up a business. His name was David. I'll never forget him. And he went, okay, do you have a business plan? I'm like, no. What is that? He goes, so you have to do this and this and this and this. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, okay, can you sit here and I go out and do it and come back in? He goes, it doesn't. I was like, please, here's what my problem. This is where I am. This is what I have. I don't have it. I don't know what to do. And he went,
Wow.
so he printed off a template, gave it to me, put me in a chair. I filled out various numbers. I just made shit up. And I came
Right.
back in. He goes, thank you. Ticked that. He goes, and then I need two referees. I was like, referees, what are they? And it was I mean, honestly, the irony of life. So
Wow.
my two referees, one was a princess because, my background. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
can you imagine this poor man, this weirdo woman with zero money?
Right.
It's like a princess as a referee. And then the other person who was the referee was the chairman of the bank. And he was like, you cannot put the chairman of this bank as a reference. I was like, damn, okay.
Um,
So I had to go find someone else. I mean, like the friend I lived with was the reference. Then he said, I was like, can I just have this money now? He goes, it doesn't really work like that. I'm like, I know. I've worked that out now. But if you don't give me this money, then I can't set up this business. This
mm.
poor guy, he just like threw the money at me. And he was like,
Wow.
okay, no, 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 I'm telling you. He was so good to me. And we literally spent that money penny by penny. And then the business started on the 6th of January. And we spent the end of that, I think we spent £1,960 on the 6th of January. So we had to make sales because we spent that money building up, setting
Mm-hmm.
up the business. So we had like £40. So if we didn't sell, we were screwed. So I developed a really lucrative sales career off the back.
You went from not knowing anything about business, writing a business plan, getting the money, spending the money, and now you have to make the sales.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That took about 4.5 weeks, all of that.
Oh my
But we
gosh.
had no money. Where are you? Necessity is the mother of all invention. What were
Yes.
we going to do? What were we going to do? We had no money. We were going through Christmas with, I can't remember, we had £110 to go through 3.5 weeks of Christmas. It was very painful. So I was like, well, we don't have a choice. What are we going to do? This. It was like a bit like that. Yeah. So then we sold. I sold. So yeah, we made 100 grand the first year. So
Wow.
entrepreneurship is freedom.
You were hustling.
Babe, I still hustle. Let's be clear. I hustle more nicely now, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was hustling.
Wow. And that
Yeah,
was your health business that you started at
yeah,
that time?
detox. Yeah, and then we
Wow.
won. Oh God, we won 14 awards. Um, it just, yeah, it was amazing. We were the biggest brand. Gwyneth Paltrow was our first client.
Are you
You know, we,
serious? How did
yeah.
you land Gwyneth Paltrow as your first
But
client?
you're just going to get annoyed with me because there is no intelligence behind this. The chick just turned up. We were literally the only game in town, and there was no one else to buy from. So I guess she just came because of that. And then we got her, Stella McCartney, Mel C, and we didn't know any of this because we were just sending them food. Because I was like, just please buy the stuff, would you? But I obviously knew a lot about food by this stage. So our product was amazing. It was beautiful. It didn't look good, but it tasted phenomenal. It had the great effect, And this terrifying woman rang me and said, "I'm the editor of something like Vogue magazine. Gwyneth Paltrow says you're her favorite detox. Could we talk, please? And I'm like, oh my God, she does. I'm like, could you just say that and then I'll record it and I'll take down my website and I'll just rotate that. And she wouldn't. So that was mean.
Oh my gosh. You are very resilient. Like, I know this is like a story that doesn't happen to everyday people, right? This is like one of those things where it doesn't happen all the time like this. The story does not happen like this all the time, Geeta. I want you to know that. And for you to land a client like that and to launch a business and then you make six figures in the first year and win awards, like, you are an amazing woman. You are very courageous and resilient, and you learned what you needed to learn to make your business happen.
I did, because I did not
Jeez.
understand financial projections for like 6 years. I swear to God.
Jeez.
I didn't even know how. I mean, I was like, I picked words for a reason. I mean, law. But let me just stop there a second. There is, to be serious, I think this happens to a lot of women. I understand statistically as well, women
Mm-hmm.
after divorce get are 40 to 60% less off within 2 years of divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Women, divorce tends to create immense poverty for women. And when women become mothers, we're almost setting ourselves on a route to being poor and helpless. And my issue with it was that I declined that as an option. And I had this thing in my brain. I remember thinking, I wanted to succeed, and I wanted to succeed in Chanel and Givenchy, because
Mm-hmm.
why wouldn't I? Right. And it was just the bloody mindedness, which I don't care, frankly. I don't buy design or anything, but it was the bloody mindedness of that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what made the difference. So that's why I do the work I do now, because I think that women don't think they can. And I wouldn't think I couldn't.
Mm.
And so yeah.
That's huge. You didn't think you couldn't.
No.
And why do
I
you
mean,
think we as women, why do you think we think that we can't do it?
oh my God, how long do you have? I have so many. How long do you? So this is a very learned response. What we do is, when we're young girls, we're brought up in a place where femininity is something that we're treated and taught is a highly negative version of us as girls. Because when we're feminine, we're too emotional, we're too weak, we're too vulnerable, we're just too. So if you just stop being like that. And so what we do is we look around us. And when I do talks and workshops, I will have people put up their hands and I will say, when you were growing up, male, mother, father, masculine, feminine, who made the most money growing up? It'll be a guy. Who was the person that got the most choice growing up? It'll be a guy. Who looked most successful? It'll be a guy. Who was the one most
Mm-hmm.
tired? It'll be a woman. Who is the one, and we absorb it in our mother's milk. We absorb it in our daily breath. In our daily
Mm-hmm.
breath, we are told that the core part of who we are is wrong. So
Mm-hmm.
we go through life trying to become men with vaginas.
Hmm.
And the problem with that is that our femininity is where all of our strength lies. So for me,
Ooh.
I was like, I'm going to stop being a good girl, but then who will I be? And I didn't know who that was going to be. But I gave myself the space and the time to be me, to work it out, because there was no one giving me any help. No one was doing anything. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I should thank y'all for not giving a shit, because then I have to work out who I am. And
Wow.
what that did was it created a version of me. And I had to then reverse engineer it in my brain. I created a version of me where now I'm very powerful and I'm very feminine. And I love
Mm.
both those parts of me. And both
Wow.
of them are inextricably linked. But generally speaking, very few women have the courage and the confidence to be this, because it's a very high price to pay.
Mm.
You
That's so
either have to
true.
be powerful like a guy, and none of us want to do that because it looks terrible, or you have to be feminine, and then that's Barbie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, says who?
Right. Right.
I was like, I'll just create my version of that,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what that comes from. So I spend my life teaching women that the more feminine you tap into, the more female your power, the
Mm.
stronger you. It's literally like saying, walk around with one leg and one hand and then do your best. You're only going to do the best you can with that one leg and one hand. If I give you all your power and you
Mm-hmm.
show up 100% powerful, you can change the damn world
Yeah.
today.
Yes.
And that's what I do every day.
Wow. That is so true. And we have the power within us. We just have to see that we have that power to
And we have,
achieve anything.
yes.
Ah, I love it. And were you like, did you see glimmers of who you are as an adult when you were a child, when you were younger? Did you see that, Geeta?
There was this funny thing on Instagram where this guy said, "All my mouthy people, what do you do today?" It was really funny. And I read them, I'm like, that be me. I was, I wasn't a very good looking child because I was, well, when I say overweight, I was not, not today's standards, those ones. And I was very dark, and that's not as pretty as if you're fair. And
Mm,
I was very mouthy, and I was too intelligent, and I came top of everything. Um, and all those things made me an unattractive girl child. So yes, those are all the glimmers. Number one. Number two, I spent a lot of time on my own because I grew
mm,
up in the middle of nowhere. So it took me to a place where what I thought was very important, and how I felt was not important, because I
mm-hmm.
was told it didn't matter how I felt, and I had to then work those things out. So yeah, I think so. Mouthy, annoying, never shut up, too intelligent, too much.
Mm.
I'm sure it's there in your background too. It's kind of how we're
Oh
built.
yeah, of course.
Every
But
client of mine is like that.
it's the woman that you are today. You're assertive. You're a go getter. You go after your dreams. You won't take no for an answer. You'll find a way, and you're gonna
I
speak your truth.
Yeah, I think no is the beginning of a sentence. I
Yes.
always think that, not the end of it.
Mm-hmm. And it's a sentence in itself. No.
That thing.
I love it. Oh my gosh. So you started your health business, and then you it grew, it exploded, and you were able to uh continue to give your children the life that they deserve, the life that you deserve. And then when did you feel that you needed to start to create spaces, safe spaces for women? When did that come into play?
I kept getting these amazingly beautiful women walking in. If you run a detox business, your life is full of beautiful women. They walk
Mm,
in and they were like, "Oh, I can't get a date. I just need to lose more weight. I can't do this. I need to lose more weight." And I would be looking at these exquisitely beautiful women, and I'm like, "Hang on. The only way you could lose more weight is if I cut your hair off or your nails.
mm,
I do not know where you're going to lose weight." And I was like, "Okay, this stuff, this shit is emotional. It's mental." And I had a woman come in, very, very, very famous woman. She was comes from a globally famous family,
okay.
and like name recognition for you, for me, for Australia. And she came in, and we were having these conversations, and I was like, can you just come back?
Mm,
Let's book out an hour, and let's talk about what's actually going on." And then we had that conversation, and she had an issue, and it was an injustice. And I was like, "Well, why don't we just fix that thing?" She goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Let's fix that." And she was like, "How would I do that?" And I'm like, "Let's start here, and then I'll see you next week." I didn't know that was coaching, right? Because we're talking 2010 or 11 or 12 or something. Like, who knew? Um, and then another woman came in, and she had another issue, and I just didn't like. And then we had a lot of cancer patients that came in,
okay.
because they would come in to do get fruits and vegetables and have lots of vitamins and minerals. And we would get 3 to 4 people come in a week where they were on palliative care or they were dying, and they had been given between 4 and 6 months to live, 4 weeks to 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And they would come in, and you're having to talk to these people, and when you've seen 4 to 20 to 80 of them, you have 1 hour to go
Mm,
right into the core of whatever it is that's keeping them stuck emotionally.
mm-hmm,
And so it just became something that I became skilled at, because when someone is dying, you'll do anything that you can to help them, you know
mm-hmm,
and if and I just learned that if I could help them get unstuck from their emotions, it would help them manage the way that they were handling illness and recovery. And so I did that for 3 or 4 years alongside the very, very famous and the very, very ill, and it was just a weird and then it turned out I was a coach. I don't know, it just wasn't a thing. I didn't know
yeah. It
it.
it it called your name,
Apparently.
considering what you've been through as a woman, as a mom, as a entrepreneur, businesswoman, it was calling your name because you've seen the lowest of low, and you could use your shared experiences to help people to come out from being stuck.
I think all yes, and I think also I think that's so well put. But you also think that imagine that we so rarely have someone standing beside us or behind us who just believes 1000% in the best version of you, and that's definitely me. If I see a woman, I am the person that will believe you can never be rich enough, ambitious enough, successful enough, or happy enough to make me happy. Let's just quadruple that, shall we? And
Wow.
that's my core belief.
Yeah. You partner with women.
Yes, I love
Hmm.
that.
You
I'm going to
partner
ring
with,
out my clients and tell her that.
yes, you
Yes.
partner with
And
them.
I do, because I don't want to, I don't do the work. They do the work, right? I'm the catalyst and the guide, and I'm the cow, because I'm like, no, no, no. I mean, and we have the weirdest conversations. There's a woman yesterday who's running a 60 million pound business, and I've been her coach for 9 years. And she was talking about having, I don't know what time she was talking about having intimate relationships with somebody
Mm.
who had
Hmm.
been drinking. And I had a go at her. And I'm like, no, to take yourself seriously, to be the person you deserve to be, you should be only having intimate relations with somebody the first time when you're both sober, so that you both see that you both matter.
Yes.
And if you're not doing that, you are completely copping out on taking yourself
Mm.
seriously enough, you know?
Mm.
So it's a
Yes.
different conversation with different people, but it ends up at the same place. I love that partnering with women thing. I'm going to go put that on my website. That's
Yes.
just
Put
so.
it on your website. You are their
I'm going to do
partner. I love that. It's so needed. I work with women as well. I have a storytelling platform, and I believe that a lot of women, men too, but we're talking about women that need to be validated and need to be heard and need to be seen. And sometimes it takes a person like you to partner with them, to walk them and be their guide as they unfold and as they bloom into this woman or evolve into this woman that they're, called to be. Do you feel that you've had an opportunity to impact women on a larger scale because of the pain and the trauma and the things that you've gone through?
I don't really see myself as someone who went through pain and trauma anymore. It's really funny. I sort of don't see myself as that person. I think it's because I'm deeply frivolous, given the slightest opportunity.
Mm.
But I think that it's because I cover so many different cultures, I probably think I grew up in Africa. I'm Indian. I went to school in Britain. I've lived in a lot of countries. And maybe it's because you go to the core of it and
Hmm.
all women are the same. This is not an issue. I used to think this was an Indian issue. I used to think it's because we were brought up, like you're a second class citizen. Oh, but of course, nobody actually said that to me, but you're brought up like that,
Hmm.
and at least you know the enemy you're fighting. And then I came out here and I looked at all these British women that didn't look like me or sound like me, and they had the same issues. And I was like, huh. And then so you kind of, I think it's being the relatable, whatever that word.
Hmm.
Because to me, I think it's the person, and definitely all women have the same problem. And I want to change the whole world's version of this, because women are 50% of the world, and it's about time the world noticed that. And it's about time women notice that and
Yes.
came up to stand up to be counted.
Yes. And, we give you permission today to be everything that you desire to be, women.
Yes.
You don't need anyone to tell you that you can or cannot. You can. Yeah,
And
I
should.
love that. So tell me, what advice do you have to women or anyone that has experienced setbacks and that are trying to move forward to make their dream come true, make this business come true? What advice do you have to them?
I think that firstly, the person you are today is not the person you have to be next year. It just
Mm.
isn't. Nobody says that this is your life and that's it. There are enough stories out there of people that look and sound like you that have come out of the worst scenarios. That's why I come on and I talk about this stuff, because it's important to see that someone who looks and sounds like me went through that stuff. And so you're not alone going through it, you know?
Yeah.
But use whatever, there are two things always that are transformative in anyone's life. One is getting rid of the obstacles, and two is focusing in on the desires. And I think those two are the things you should focus on. Firstly, work out any technique you can get off to clean obstacles away so you can get through a little bit better to the core of who you are, because we're layered with fear, right? And then the second step is, once you've got to that place, start to dream as though you're living that today. What is it that you're doing? What is it your dream is? What is your desire? Mine was, my children will stay in private school. That is it. And, I'm not saying it was an intelligent, or it was mine. And my children stayed in private school the whole way, because that was my determination.
So you have to visualize this life that you want.
Feel
And
it.
you have to visualize it. You have to see it. You have to imagine yourself in this life. And I love how you said that this life that you have right now doesn't have to be who you are next year.
No, but also, everything that you say and everything that you do will make you yeah, is which direction you're going in. Are you going in the direction where you want to be, or the direction you don't want to be? Everything you eat will give you more energy or less energy. Everything you say will make you feel good or bad. Everything you think will make you feel stronger or weaker. Everything you be, and I'm relentless. I'm not necessarily ruthless, because it matters very much to me to be kind, but I'm relentless. That I have this desire, and I'm utterly relentless in my drive to get to that place.
Wow. You're going to pursue it, huh? You're going to make it happen.
100%. I there was a period where I went through, when I got divorced, where I didn't drink for about 10 years. And that was a tragedy, because I don't drink. I can't. I'm a lightweight. I can drink like one drink, but I love me that one drink. I was like, give me a martini, put me in a corner, and leave me alone. Well, there was a place, like, for 10 years, I did not drink,
Oh,
because there
wow.
was too much going on, because the kids were too little and we were so poor. And every day was a crisis. I couldn't afford even one moment of not being on. And I remember standing next to this man in the bar, and he was our speaker at this event. And he knew, he had done this thing that I wanted to learn how to do. And he was like, yeah, I don't do coaching. I was like, uh-huh. And I stood next to this man for the next hour and a half till he gave in. And he was like, all right, I'll do it. All
Wow.
right. And then he coached me for the next 6 months, and I learned that thing, and then I moved on.
Wow. Wow.
Relentless.
Relentless.
Yeah.
Relentless in your dreams, relentless in your goals. So you're the CEO of W Corporation. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your corporation.
I would love to, thank you, because that
Yes.
is like, that's my heart. So I was listening to, we had our own Harvey Weinstein. There was a guy out here who had
Okay.
been sexually assaulting a lot of women,
Mm.
and no one could ever trap him. And he would go to court, and somebody would go, "Ah, you poor thing, stop giving women drugs. They don't like it." And he'd write a paycheck and he'd wander off. It was just so horrible. It took 12 years of these women desperately trying to get this guy into court. And I was reading the court filings in April last year. I'm a lawyer. And I read this thing. And have you ever read something, Amanda, that your life is never the same again?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I read the court filings of this woman, and these women were saying that the receptionists on the top floor, when this man left the top floor to go downstairs, the receptionist on the top floor would ring the receptionist on the ground floor so that the women could get behind a locked door.
That's horrible.
And we, as women, that tells us a lot, right? It instantly tells you these women had no choice.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you they desperately needed the work. It tells you they couldn't find other work.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells you that they had no one to turn to.
Mm-hmm.
They had no higher power. They tried,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they had no higher power. And I remember looking at this thinking, this is unacceptable. It's just, I couldn't get past it. And so I remember going through months and months and months. And every time I tried to do something, I couldn't forget it. I couldn't forget it, because we were redoing all our annual goals. I just wanted to burn it all down, because this wouldn't leave my brain. I was like, right, I'm going to put courses into organizations and teach women how to become powerful. And then it was like, no, you have to do this. So nothing was quite feeling right. And I was having, it must have been November I was having dinner with a girlfriend, and I was like, how do I get companies to force women to take these courses so that the company says they have to take it? She goes, well, if only there was some kind of certification like B Corp. And my brain kind of blew up, and I was like, oh my God, that's it. And I created W Corps, which is a certification for organizations to go through. And the certification shows that they provide safe and supportive workplaces for women to succeed in. And that means that when men go to work, or when you go to work, it is work from 9 to 5. And then you home from 5 to 9. There is not a woman in the world that does that.
Oh no.
That is absolute bullshit. Not one woman in the world. There is never one mother in the world that does that, but there is no woman in the world that does that. And we know this because women go through distinct life stages. 100% of women go through periods. 100% of women go through perimenopause for 11 years. 100% of women go through menopause. You can't do that, right? And then 80% of women look after elderly parents, yours or your partner's. So this is not acceptable, right? So this is a system setup that works for men. Got it. Now, the same way we build toilets for men and toilets for women, and men have urinals because that works for their physiology and biology, and women have toilets because that works for us. What we need is a workplace that works for us too. And the way you do that is you shift the infrastructure of the workplace so that it allows for women's stages to happen and allows women to show up to work regardless of the stages. Not show up to the office, but show up to work. That creates then a level playing field for women. And this is not combative to men, anti-men, hate men, nothing of the sort. You have your version, we have our version, and we meet in the middle. That's it. That's all W Corps does.
That's amazing. That's very powerful, and that's needed. Do you offer this certification for the States, or is it only in the
Oh,
UK?
please. In fact, let me certify your organization. I offer this globally because
Wow.
the way I think about it is this. I set the business up on the 2nd of January, and because the universe has a sense of humor, I was like, I don't know how you do a global movement. Let's work it out. We'll work it out. I'm just like, I put it up on LinkedIn going, if anybody knows how to do a global movement, someone should phone me. And a woman got in touch on the 20th of January going, I've set up a global movement. She's one of yours, Celeste Mergens, God bless the woman. She set up a thing called Days for Girls. She takes reusable period pads around the world, 145 countries, 3 million women. I was like, oh my God, babe, can you marry me? She goes, no, but I'll help you set up a business.
Uh-huh.
Movement. So she then said, what are you doing in 3 weeks? I was like going on holiday with the kids. She's like, book me to speak at the UN to launch the business. I was like, the universe is laughing at me. I mean, the nausea, the sheer terror of this thing. So it just kind of, and the way I see it, whoever is listening, whoever's in your audience, if you run an organization, if you have one person and you have 5,000 to 50,000 people, we really need you because this is the first year of this and it's a land grab. We have to get as many organizations as possible this year around the world so that we have the momentum. So if you go on to wcorporation.org and you go all the way to the bottom, we have a map and we put dots on for organizations that we certify. So every time we certify you, we put you in a dot and we give you a global platform to say thank you. So we have a few US businesses. We have one in India. We have a few in the UK. We have a Spanish one in Australia. We're slowly adding them on.
Wow. That is amazing. You are in alignment with your purpose. That's why the doors keep opening for you because you're like, yes, yes, and yes. And they just, wow. I'm amazed. That is so great.
But babe, look at it. If I didn't say yes to this, I'm terrified of what would happen. Because I'm like, I'll do whatever you want. I promise. Yes, universe, please don't make it hurt. I think I got beaten into submission.
Okay, okay. I surrender. I surrender.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, got it.
Oh my gosh. Well, that I'm going to definitely be sharing that information with everyone to become certified because we need safe and supportive spaces for women corporately in all businesses. But I love the work that you are doing. I love, love, love the work that you're doing. And I know that you are changing so many lives, probably lives that you don't even know that you're changing just by sharing your story on different platforms that you share. So I appreciate you. One last thing. Tell me what you would say to your younger self.
Go out with way better looking men.
too much.
Way better looking men. Go for the best looking guy and go out with him. Don't worry about anything else. It's all going to happen to you anyway. Go out with
Choose better, not him. Choose someone else.
choose hot, good looking men.
So you're single? Is that what you're telling us? You're single right now?
Yes, I am. But apart from that, I still think this is a good life goal. I'm like the rest of it was happening anyway, right? If along the way I hadn't dated really hot, good looking men, it might have made some of it better. You have to laugh. You know, I was saying this before. To me, laughter, I have this deep vein of sheer superficial frivolity because it is not superficial. I just frivolity. I think it's so deeply important because if you start taking yourself too seriously, the end is nigh. Whereas if you can giggle your way through the most of it, then that's got to be better.
Yes, but you definitely have found you found your purpose. You definitely have found the key to living the best life. Really, honestly, you have. And, you know, we hear that it's a cliche thing, especially in the States. Live your best life. What does that look like? And what does the best life look for you? What can you speak to the women in our audience, even to the men? What does the best life look like? If you're talking to your client right now, what would you say?
I think it's to authentically, it's such a stupid word, authentic. To me, living my best life is constantly being at my most powerful. Because when I'm at my most powerful, I am the kindest, I'm the most compassionate, I'm the most humble. Truly powerful people don't need to hurt you and put you down and cut you down and steal from you and do shit like that. You know, they don't need to.
Right.
So if I tell everybody there is a version of you that I see today, and that is the most powerful version of you. The version of you where you get to be you, you get to say you get to do you get to be you. That version of you is there. It's there now.
Yeah.
And that version of you is your best, best, best life. Because nothing else. Was I clear? I love Chanel and you know, and I miss my private plane. So I'm not saying, you know, let's do good and give all our money away, or I'm not saying any of those things. But none of those things bring your best life. So find the real powerful you, which is when all your dots line up, then go get the fun stuff.
Yeah. I love that. Because it starts within, right?
See, that's a better way of putting it. It 100% starts with it.
It really does. And then all those other things are, you know, just the icing on the cake. But yeah, I love that. You're amazing. I really appreciate you sharing your story. I love your personality. And if I ever come to London, I'm going to find you.
You should totally come and find me.
So we can go have a martini or something.
Yeah, and we'll put cake in there too, babe. Don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Geeta, for joining us. And I'll put all of your information and share. And you guys can follow her and see all the amazing things that she's doing and get that certification for your organization or your company. Thank you so much.
Thank you.